ask any questions that you'd like. For those of us that are following online, please feel free to submit your own questions as well. We're happy to have you here. All right, so to start off, give us a little snapshot of what your family looks like, who you are, what you do, and then we'll dive into our questions.
Okay. Well, I'm Jared, as she said. This is Shannon. We have 3 girls, 11, 8, and 5, and they were all born overseas. We were missionaries in Hungary for 12 years. A lot of crazy experiences over there, working with orphans, working with refugees. One of my fun things, started a baseball team. We literally built a baseball field from scratch, and Hungarians came out and said, well, what is this? Because a sports field should be rectangle for soccer. And ours was not rectangle, and they couldn't figure out what it was. But it was really neat because with that, the kids who weren't good at soccer, the kids who weren't good at basketball or this, they came and played baseball because they were all bad. And so we got, they call themselves the losers. Sometimes the bad news bears, but a lot of neat work with those kids as well, and in our community. And so after 12 years, the Lord moved us back to Indiana, and as we came back to Indiana, looking for ways to be missionaries still in America. How can we serve in our community? What can we do, Lord? We have a heart. We both have a heart for kids, especially the underdogs, and that kind of led us into fostering. That's how we got to that point.
No, we said it is one thing we would never do,
Yeah.
because it would be way too hard to say goodbye. And it is hard to say goodbye, but it is our new mission field.
So talk to me about how fostering has impacted your family and your children.
Our children, obviously, coming off the mission field, have already had big change and big loss. And for me, that's fostering as well. It's a big change. When a foster child enters our home, I feel like our world turns upside down for about 3 weeks. And we have to adjust and figure it out and learn who the child is, and they have to get to know us. And then you have them for so many months, and then it's a loss, and you grieve, and each of our children grieve very differently, and we grieve differently, and so it's kind of a theme in our home, change and loss. But I wrote down a quote that we asked our oldest daughter this question: how has fostering impacted her? And it was one sentence, but I thought it was very profound for an 11-year-old. She said, I have learned to take advantage of the time I have while I have it. And I mean, for all of us, that encompasses all of life, to take advantage of the times and opportunities that God gives us every day. So,
Thanks for sharing that. How did you come to choose Gateway Woods as an agency to get licensed through, and how has being licensed with Gateway Woods impacted your fostering experience?
Well, we definitely didn't want to go at it alone. We need some help, some guidance. How do we get started? Whole new ball game, doing it here in the States. And we had heard good reports, good feedback about Gateway, and made that connection. We had tried to get started on our own. We had made some phone calls to the county ECS, but no return calls back. And after a while, I was like, okay, maybe how do we do this then? And so getting connected with Gateway was definitely a big help in that. And especially along the way, I mean, I don't know that we could have done this without the support of Gateway as well. And whether it was Brittany or say Marissa or it's Abby or any of the girls or anybody else that's there, just to bounce things off of, hey, they're doing this, is this normal? Or I feel this way. And I'm feeling a little, man, I feel bad about how I feel. This is wrong, isn't it? Like, well, no, this is okay. Oh, this is normal. And so, everything from practical stuff to emotionally how I was doing things, how we were doing things. This is going on, how can we do this? Discipline's a whole other ballgame. What are some ideas? And so just going back and forth. And the fact that Gateway steps in and helps represent us, we don't have to make those tough phone calls, but Gateway does. Hey, we'll call them for you. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. As you you went from deciding you wanted to foster to getting licensed, how did God change you, or how did he work with you throughout that time?
Well, we originally went into fostering with the intention of adopting. Our middle daughter is adopted from Hungary, and we wanted to adopt again. And we thought, okay, well, financially, fostering is the only way we will ever be able to adopt again in the United States. But as we both sat in hours of training,
You're welcome.
yes, at the very last training, we were finished and we got in the car, and almost simultaneously we looked at each other and said, we are supposed to foster. And so it totally changed our mindset because we wanted to adopt. That was our goal. And God really changed that. I think seeing the need for fostering, and with already having 3 children in our home and the limit is 5, we thought, oh, if we adopt, then we're pretty much done. And we didn't want to be done. There's so many children who need a family for a season, and God really changed our heart, and now we want to foster. And if adoption becomes an option at some point, we will consider it probably, but our heart now is to foster more on a long-term basis than to specifically adopt.
Yeah. When the McGuires went through their initial training, they went through 3 or 4 other couples, and every couple had told me they just want to adopt from foster care. By the time each of those were licensed, all of them had been changed by God, and it was really a lesson to me too, that we feel called to foster, and if a child needs adopted, then that will be our journey too. So I learned a lot with their cohort as well, that God can change all of us no matter how resolute or sure we are when we start our journey that he's called us to. What do you see as the church's role in foster care and orphan care?
I think there's kind of 2 parts to that, because sometimes we refer to the church and we think, well, the church should do this. And we're talking about the pastor should do this. But the church is us as well. And so each of us has a part, as well as the church as a whole. Do you want to share your heart?
Well, I think for me, the verse that God really impacted me with, it's okay, I know. It's
Okay.
Matthew 25, verses 35 through 45, where it talks about Jesus is talking to the disciples and also the Pharisees, and he's saying there were people who were hungry and you gave them food. They were thirsty and you gave them drink. They were a stranger and you welcomed them in, and it goes on. And he says, you did that. And they're like, when did we do that? And he said, when you did it to the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me. And then he says to the Pharisees, you did not do this to the least of these, and so you didn't do it for me. And that really impacted me as my part in the church. These kids are strangers when they walk in my home. I don't know them at all. But that, as my part in the church, I believe that's what God has called me to, is to welcome them in and give them Jesus.
And I think in a bigger picture, I mean, James 1:27, it tells us that true religion, right, is to visit widows and orphans or the fatherless. And we can get into semantics, an orphan versus a foster kid and that kind of thing. But I think we see, all throughout the New Testament with Jesus, that he loved children. He had a heart for the children. The disciples like, oh, you're bothering him. Get away from him. He's like, no, come on, kids, come here. And so as a church, I think we definitely have a role. And I want to be careful though, because I'm not going to say not everybody should foster care. And I kind of think of it with missions. Not everybody should be a missionary in another country. There are some who go, but there are some who support those who go as well. And that support isn't just financially, there's other things. It's a letter in the mail that says, hey, we're thinking of you, we're praying for you. Or there's a little care package that says, here's a couple gifts for your kids, and special treat for you, or some peanut butter, And I think with foster care, I think the church, there needs to be an awareness. I think there's a lot of people in church are not even aware of what foster care looks like, what the needs are. Sometimes they don't even know the people that are doing it in their church maybe. And along with awareness is education. What does that look like? What are they going through? What's that family dealing with? What is that stress like when you bring this new child into your home? And sometimes in a church, when a couple has a baby, people get together, they make meals for a few weeks and drop off meals and stuff like that. And and why not say when someone gets a foster placement? And in some ways, with the baby, you get to start from scratch. You get to start the training. And in foster care, you're getting a kid who maybe is 2, maybe is 7, maybe is 12. They've had all those years already of different kind of training. They're coming into your home with different types of trauma. It can be crazy. Kids standing on a table, dumping their salt out, and like, what are you doing? There's a lot of stuff there. And there's different ways we can support each other, support the families in our church, whether it's a meal, it's babysitting, it's just come along and saying, hey, how are you doing today? How was last week? I know you guys had this going on. But that's an education part that comes. And I think the church definitely has a role. Some of it's for being foster parents, and some of it's a supportive role.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. What's one of the most, or share with us a surprising experience you've had because of fostering?
This is pretty dry, but I think the most surprising thing for me is that I want to do it again, because it's so difficult. To be honest, it is challenging, and our first placement was a little 1-year-old girl and a 2-year-old boy, and they tore my house upside down in about 2 minutes, and I didn't know what I was going to do. Digging through the trash to find food, just crazy, stuffing their crayons down the vent, and I didn't want to get out of bed for 3 weeks. So that was pretty surprising in that we train our children how to live life in a family, and they were not trained to live in a family. And so I am very surprised that after those initial experiences, that was our first placement, and it ended pretty sketchy too, so that I wanted to do it again. And I think this may go into another question, but I think that showed me victory in fostering too. These children enter my home with dark circles under their eyes and just disheveled and couldn't sleep at night, and just to watch them change. They'd wake up at 4 just ready to go and nervous, and then by the time they left, they could rest and sleep 12 hours a night and knew that there was going to be food on the table every meal of every day, and just to watch them relax and realize I'm loved here and I'm special here, and to show those little tiny lives that God loved them. And so that's surprising that, okay, I'm willing to go through it again, but it's also victory because God is allowing us to give this child a place of emotional rest and spiritual rest and physical. Just, you can sleep, it's okay, nobody's going to hurt you, that kind of thing.
I think along with the victory part of it too is to see a child come in, and sometimes you don't really notice it until you go back and you look at some of the pictures. And you're like, wow, he never was smiling. And you look at the date, and then as the time goes by, he won't stop smiling, because that place was, and it's nothing that we do ourselves necessarily, but how God has just worked in their lives and be able to help them to calm down, to rest, to relax, and to know they're safe. And then look at the smiles in this kid. Wow, okay, we've been a part of something.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that. I want to switch gears a little bit. I'd like you to explain some of the difficult things that you've been through, whether they were surprising or you knew they were coming. But how did going through the hard things impact you and your family?
Probably one of the most difficult things was how the first placement ended. We were told that they would be...
That was the little boy and girl that I was talking about.
We were told that they were going to be leaving, and they wouldn't be coming back, but we were also told that you can't tell them that, and you can't really say goodbye. And I don't know, I kind of told my wife that if that was ever going to happen again, I'd probably disobey that order. To not be able to have that closure has been, even to this day, for our children. Our oldest daughter still struggles with that. to the point that when we had our next placement, she didn't want to attach at all because she was still hurting and still is from never getting the chance to say goodbye to the first kids that we had. And that was something I didn't really expect and hit hard and still think about, but also to learn from. And I think for Joelle, she shared that quote that to take advantage of every moment that you have, because you just don't know how long it's going to last. And we don't know how it's going to end, and we can't choose how it will end. But let's do what we can now. Let's love them the best we can now. And not that we're always perfect. We definitely have our moments of frustration and stuff, but the ability to come back and keep loving them.
Well, and that's another way that Gateway was a big support to us. Brittany fought hard for us in that case, that we could keep the children because they were moving them to a different foster home due to allegations of funds and things, is my understanding correct? So Brittany fought hard for us and these kids, and there was no resolution. But I am thankful for your work on our behalf, because that was a really tough, not being able to say goodbye and have that was really, really difficult.
And you have to be careful because you go through that and you think, well, forget this. I'm not doing this again. And Shannon was kind of sharing, like, despite that, we do still want to do it again. And you need those moments to take a break. And where Brittany and the Gateways come in and say, listen, it's okay to take a break. That's good. This is what you need to do. And to take that break, don't make any decisions right then and there, but to have that time, spend it with your kids, with each other, do some things and just kind of reconnect and talk things over with the kids and each other and pray. And, as time goes by, next year you're like, all right, we're ready. Let's do it again.
And I remember texting Brittany and I said, is this normal? Because if not being able to say goodbye is normal, I can't do this. She said, this is not normal. I said, okay. So that's not a normal situation.
Is there anything we haven't discussed yet as far as how fostering has impacted your children that you'd like to share? We talked a little bit about that at the beginning, but I want to give you space if there was more that you want to share with that.
I think each situation has been different with our kids. We have 11, 8, and 5. And, our last placement, our 8-year-old really connected with her. And they were just inseparable. Always outside together, doing things together, pretending to be animals together, or whatever it was. They just connected really well. Whereas, I'd say the first one, our oldest daughter, she loves to babysit. She wants to be a teacher. And so that was the younger kids. That was her realm. She loved it. Fit right in. Of course, then our youngest one, she thinks she's older and thinks she can be the teacher, but she, she loves having little kids around and stuff. And so every situation was different with the kids. And so to say that, you got to do this, this, and this at the end of each time, well, I can't because everything's different. Every situation is different. There's nothing, you can't put it in a box. And so we got to be patient with each kid and to share with them, but to listen and just watch and just try to see what what needs show up for them in each situation.
And they ask if the kids are coming back quite often. Will they ever come back? And if they do, I'm going to run and give them a big hug. And so even though they're gone, we pray for them, and they're still very much a part of their lives, and pictures in the house and on their hearts to, they come up quite often in conversation. So it's good. That specific bedroom is always whoever is there. It takes a long time for it to change to someone else's bedroom.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. All right, well, we have a few minutes left. I'd like to pivot and allow anybody that has any questions to go ahead and throw those our way, whether it's about the program or if it's about the McGuire's experience.
Why couldn't you say goodbye in that situation with the 1 and 2-year-old?
When they did not want the children to know that they were leaving our home, because it was not told to them at that at that time, they were doing visits with mom at that period, and so they had gone to visit with mom. And during those few days that they were gone, that's when the decision was made, I think. Is that correct?
It's really fuzzy, but yeah.
So the decision was made when they were out of our home, and so they just never returned. And we asked if we could see them, and they wouldn't let us. So they thought that would be more traumatic, which maybe not. I don't know.
We vehemently disagreed. I mean, it's not a healthy way to end an already traumatic situation of being moved out of your home and all that. Yeah, good question. Yes.
We have a Facebook question. What advice would you give someone when they receive the first placement?
Take a deep breath.
That's a really in-depth question. Wow.
I've heard a quote that said, "Blessed are the flexible." And you got to be very flexible. You got to be very patient. You just don't know what to expect. And so to keep loving those kids, because sometimes they're going to be testing things, and just let them know you're going to love them no matter what happened. Whether it's all the books just came off the shelf, and a half second later all the toys went off, and they're on the table, half a minute later, that you're still going to love them, and to just give them a big hug and keep loving them. Keep loving them.
I think give it a transition period of time too, because the first few weeks are always challenging, and if you can get past that, it does get easier. It does get smoother and better, but there's so many appointments at the beginning of a placement. You have to get them to the doctor within 10 days, and our second was a school age, so we had to get her enrolled in school, and so there's a lot of logistics at the beginning, plus on top of you trying to figure them out. And so I think if you give it a period of time, transition time, at least 3 weeks would probably be my number, it does get easier.
Yeah, I would advise give grace to yourself, give grace to the child, and realize that this child getting used to you and getting to know your family unit is almost like them learning a whole new language in a lot of situations.
How often have you had a foster child that's already been a foster child somewhere else?
I believe, I'm not sure if our first placement, can you remember?
I don't remember the young ones, I'm not sure.
They came from a home that didn't have many adults.
Yeah.
And then the follow-up, I guess, to that is, if that wasn't necessarily a good original experience, how long did you see that took for the trust to come?
Okay, so our first placement, we were the first time in a foster home, and where they came from was a pretty crazy situation. There wasn't much order, and there wasn't a lot of adult supervision and so forth. So I think we shared that they came in, and they were the ones that were on top of the table. Look at dumping the salt out. They were ones in the trash can, looking for food. Not because we didn't have food, but that's what they were used to doing. Didn't have an idea about, you had to be careful on the oven. Like, okay. Well, that's hot. And so, very different situation where our last placement, this was not the first time or the second time. This child referred to previous placements. Am I going to see so-and-so? Oh, do I get to go see that person again? And people we didn't know about even. We never met those people, but that child continued to refer to them. And that was okay. And we had to let them know that was okay, and that was a good experience for this child. And so to make sure that's okay, we can talk about that.
All right, I think we better wrap it up. Thank you everybody for participating. Thank you to our friends online. It was great to have you along as well.
Yeah, and